What is good, everyone? It is Zigzag here. Welcome back to Geoguessr Explained, the channel where I play Geoguessr and try and give you the best explanations I can along the way. Now, we are joined once again by a friend of the channel, GeoNebula, aka Phil. Phil, welcome back to the channel, my friend.
What's up? Good to be back.
And we're just actually filming a few videos at the moment. There's one on the main channel, which is a video where he's made a bunch of challenge maps for me. About all different kinds of US vegetation. Now on Geoguessr Explained, we're getting a bit more specific because we're going to be playing a northern versus southern pines in the eastern US map, or two of them actually. These locations chosen by Phil, in which we are kind of seeing a variety, or specifically a few varieties of pines in the eastern US, which can really help you narrow the region down and which show up very, very often on Geoguessr. And we'll be checking out iNaturalist as well, which is a site that shows you the range of different species. So, for example, we were just checking out the Tarmac larch, which is found in this area of the US and Canada. So yeah, it can be really useful for showing you where a plant is found, because obviously this one, you wouldn't want to go Europe if you see it. You would want to go North America. So, all that being said, Phil, we're heading into northern versus southern pines. Do you have any predictions / comments to make before we jump in here?
Oh man, I'm just really excited to go over these with you because I love pine trees. I think they're awesome. Several of these species are ones that are near and dear to me because I've grown up around them as a kid and stuff. And I think they're really, really helpful things to know when you play Geoguessr. So I'm excited to teach you some of my favorite plants.
Absolutely. So, let's get straight into the first one here. And let's see how I can do. Okay. This is interesting. I'm thinking I'm going to play like this. So, I would say that my initial vibe here is that these are northern or eastern white pines rather than southern pines, but I'm not too sure yet. Let's take a look around this direction. So I'm noticing that the branches are going pretty far down the trees. I feel like that looks more northern, but this is actually a legitimately difficult one. I'm not too sure. Other side of the road, we do have trees that feel a little more northern, but ooh, it's really interesting. Yeah, this could actually be south. Oh no. So this is exactly, like, this has been an area of struggle for me, so this is why I wanted the maps to be made. I do think this looks a little bit further north to me, but maybe it's the case that we're looking at southern pines just kind of more elevated or something like that. I'm not too sure. I feel like it's like just somewhere like kind of central, maybe like, I don't know, Phil. Maybe like, no. I can't actually, no, I actually don't know. So let me actually be more objective about it. The needles seem very small here. No, it does look more northern to me. Does it? I actually don't know. I'm gonna go Virginia. Take us through it.
Oh man, you are so close. And actually, yeah, this is one that we talked about earlier.
Oh, it's
On the
Virginia
other video.
pines.
Yes, it is.
Okay, that's
Oh
why I was
man.
like, they're so tiny. Yeah, okay.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah, like notice how short those needles are,
Yeah,
especially the
tiny
ones that are
ones.
like right above you.
Yeah.
Like they are just really, really short compared to other southern pines.
And they're tiny pine cones. I
Um,
noticed that, but I somehow didn't put two and two together.
No, yeah, you were thinking Eastern White Pine, which honestly, that's also like because if you look at some of the ones in the distance, they kind of have like a similar like branch, like kind of like horizontal. I think if you look the other direction, you'll see some
Yeah, like
horizontal branches
this,
like
yeah.
extending over the road. So I can see where you're coming from for sure. But but Virginia pine has like those really characteristically short needles and small cones. Another thing you'll notice is if you look at the bark of the trees of the Virginia pines as well, especially that one to your left. It'll have like or a little bit more left. Keep going left. Yeah, that one right in the middle. You see how it has like a reddishness
Yeah,
to it,
I
kind of
noticed
red.
that, yeah.
That's also something you'll see on Virginia pines.
And I feel like that's more
And
common in southern pines than eastern white pines, to have a reddish tint. Would that be
oh,
accurate?
definitely,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. There's a few other species of pines out there that have like a lot of red on them.
Scots
Ponderosa pine
pines.
is one that comes to mind. That's one you find out in the Rocky Mountains and stuff, but that'll have like a lot of red. Also the Scots pine, which
Yeah.
is one you get out in Europe.
Yeah.
That also has short needles and very red bark.
Mm-hmm.
But the Virginia pine also has like some red on it, but it's variable. The thing that really gives away Virginia pine though is those extremely short needles and those small cones.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, so I mean, I've ended up in Virginia, which is, I guess, a good result.
Yeah, it is. Really good guess. Really good guess.
But I didn't quite get there on the trees. Nevertheless, let's check it out here. Okay, it was actually in Tennessee that time. So, I mean, yeah, I called out maybe Kentucky, so that's not a bad guess overall. But let's check out quickly again the Virginia pine. I mean, we looked at this in the other video. Virginia pine. And yeah, it is kind of found in quite a wide range, but definitely not too far north and not too far south. So it's pretty useful and definitely centering, as we said, around this kind of area here. So not bad, not bad.
Exactly. Yes, it's a giveaway for the Appalachian Mountains when you see it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and this one now is looking. This doesn't look like southern pines to me. I could say that off the bat. Again, could be wrong about that, but I'm feeling more confident this time than last time. The branches are kind of facing downwards, which I'm not too familiar with what the vibe is there. That's kind of interesting to me. It is a bit straggly again, but again, I don't really think this is. I don't think it looks southern. Not really, anyway. We do have a front plate as well, and the dirt is a bit red, which feels a bit southern, but, I mean, yeah, this is, like, these have been legitimately difficult ones off the bat. I know the undergrowth feels a bit more northern, for sure. That actually makes me feel better about my north call here. I just feel like you wouldn't see, well, maybe you would, I don't know. This side of the road where it's kind of green, it definitely looks a bit further north, but the other side I could see being south as well. I don't know if I'm trying to combine all the different, like, clues we have in this round. I also don't think it's too far north, though. I don't think it's New England. It could be something out this direction, but maybe I'm actually just leaning maybe like a, like a North Carolina or a Tennessee or something, and then maybe it would be more so maybe around this region here, southern, Maryland. Oh man, nah, that's a difficult round. I guess maybe I want to go like here. Maybe it is Virginia or something. I think I'm kind of between Tennessee and Virginia here. I think I'll leave it in Virginia, actually. What are we looking at here?
Oh man. Okay, so I was excited to talk to you about this because so you definitely had the right reasoning where you said it felt more northern. You're absolutely right. This is a more northern landscape we're looking at here. And the pine that I want to talk about is that tall one right there. Yes. Zoom in on that. It actually, like, notice, like you said, like it kind of has like the scraggly appearance to it. It looks more disorganized than the eastern white pine, which actually you'll see to the right. There's a bunch of eastern white pines all lined up there. Yeah, that's eastern white pine right there.
Yeah.
But the
much bigger needles, much. Yeah.
And also just notice the layering and how horizontally the branches are kind of spreading on the eastern white pine. But the pine in question that we're looking at, this is a cool one. It doesn't show up often, but I have seen it.
Yeah.
Is pitch pine.
Pitch pine. It almost looks like a big bonsai or something,
Yeah. Oh no, you're absolutely right. Actually, I noticed that. I was actually on a location in a Martha's Vineyard on Geoguessr, which is like an island off the coast of Massachusetts. It's covered in pitch pines. And they do have like this like bonsai like appearance to them. It's really cool. But you also find that this pine tree is the dominant pine in the New Jersey Pine Barrens, which is a very unique area of southern New Jersey. Yeah, you were hovering over it right there. It's like a giant, like the Wharton State Forest, I think is what it's called. That is a giant preserve for the New Jersey Pine Barrens, which are dominated almost or predominantly by pitch pine, but you also get, as you can see here, eastern white pine in the mix as well. But all the really tall trees you're seeing in the distance, like behind you and stuff, those are also more pitch pines. And they actually, to me, resemble more of a southern pine kind of vibe to them. They almost remind me of Loblolly pine, which is the really common one you see in the southeast. And I think they are pretty closely related as well. but here's one thing I wanted to point out is look at that large pitch pine to your left again, and zoom in on that trunk. You notice how there's, especially if you go down a little bit, you notice how there's a bunch of like tufts of needles coming out of the bark itself.
Like here, for
Like
example,
just
maybe?
yeah, right there. And if you go down a little bit, there's
Oh,
more.
yeah, this is more clear. Yeah.
Just like really weird. It's like weird clumps of needles coming out of the bark. That's actually a characteristic trait of pitch pine.
Okay.
That you won't see on a lot of other pine species. There's like I think at least one other pine species I know of called the pond pine that is native to the southeast that has that characteristic as well. But it's something that you'll see on pitch pine occasionally. And this was I added it. I was excited to add this to the map because I found this great example right here where you can clearly see where those needles are coming out of the bark.
Yeah, definitely.
But oh yeah, I was gonna say but the most concentrated areas where pitch pine is like dominant are, like I said, like the pine barrens of southern New Jersey, and also there's an area in southeastern Massachusetts when you're getting close to the coast where you find a ton of pitch pine as well. I think right around there where you're hovering.
Sure.
I think it's another area with a lot of pitch pine. But if it's one that if you can identify it on Geoguessr, you've narrowed things down a lot for sure.
Fact. So this is interesting. I have a feeling this one's going to be more New Jersey just based on like the bit of redness in the soil here. I feel like that's such like an eastern / southeastern thing. And maybe not really a northeastern thing. We'll see though. But yeah, the undergrowth really makes sense for this kind of region, I would say. And then I guess we have the eastern white pines as well. So yeah, everything's adding up. Everything's definitely adding up. Although maybe, could that be a Massachusetts plate? Maybe actually. Might seem to have a bit of red. But regardless, that's really interesting. Okay, so the pitch pine. Yeah, okay, let's find out. Okay, it was there. Nice. So yeah,
awesome guess.
That does, you're right. It does have more of a southern pine vibe, but then you have to pick out the rest of the round, I feel like, and then you can just get it potentially. So let's check it out here.
Yeah. Yeah, look up pitch pine, and what you'll notice it does have like a pretty broad range. You'll see on iNaturalist, but I did some more research into like the U.S. Forest Service data that they have on the species, and there are clear areas where they're more common than others, and yeah, you can zoom in on New Jersey there. That's one of them. New Jersey and Massachusetts, you'll have like these areas where it is like
Long
a more
Island
dominant.
well.
And apparently Long Island as well, which actually
Cape
I didn't
Cod.
know that.
That makes a lot of sense,
cool.
actually. I feel like I've definitely seen these in Cape Cod. Yep, 100%.
You probably have, yeah.
Yeah. That I feel like that's maybe even a really strong way to get it, to be honest. Because you just see crazy vegetation there, and I feel like it's actually the case. Let's actually just head over to Mapmaker and plonk down a couple of times in Cape Cod, and I bet we'll see one. It's my prediction.
I bet we will. I actually haven't gotten Cape Cod and Geoguessr before.
Oh, really? It does show up quite a lot on like bait maps and stuff like that. I mean, let's go over here and see. Okay, so we got
nice blue spruce.
Yeah, nice blue spruces there. These look more like normal pines, are they?
I think that might be pitch pine right there, actually.
Okay.
Because it has that southern pine look to it.
Yeah, okay. Wow, now we're entering the autumn. Oh, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
these
for
are
sure.
Some. Yeah, these are some. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's got to be.
Oh, yeah,
look at the needles coming out. Oh, look at that. There you
go. 100%. Nice, dude.
See, it took you like a full 10 seconds to find one. That's really cool.
Also, here's another nice little meta. The shingled walls, a very Cape Cod architecture as well. See how it's kind of like
I didn't know that.
Like shingles. Yeah. So if you see that, like eastern Massachusetts, but really Cape Cod. If I have a house that's like covered in it, then yeah. Another one here. Yep, shingles everywhere. So yeah, kind of nice.
Wow.
Good start.
Yeah, I was really excited to tell you about that one.
Okay, southern pines. Here we are in the south. Like pom-pom branches. But just like, I mean, you don't really need like these are just obviously southern ones, but where though? Bit of so one thing that Raju told me, who's one of the best players at the US and from the US, is that the further west you go, as a general rule with southern pines, the shorter they get, As in, you get really tall ones in the Carolinas and Georgia, and then it kind of tapers off in terms of the height. However, this kind of looks like it might be a plantation, actually, of some kind, I would say. Looks like these ones might not be... This might not be a completely natural forest, in my opinion. I'm not sure about that, but that's the vibe I got. In which case, I really think I would maybe throw that out the window a little bit. Nevertheless, I do like the sandiness for maybe Carolinas here. So I think maybe, yeah, like South Carolina would be my first thought. Do you have a hill east there, which is a little bit suspicious for South Carolina? Obviously, you'd normally see the hills west, but I still think I kind of like it. But this is a bit of a southern pine roulette, I feel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm right though. Let's see what you think.
Oh wow, this is a great guess already. Good
Oh,
stuff,
nice,
and
nice.
you're spot on with the reasoning here.
Mm-hmm.
Except I don't think this is a plantation. I think this is actually
Okay.
so what we're looking at here is a natural longleaf pine forest.
Yeah, they are very
Um,
long-leafed. Yeah.
yeah, notice how long those needles are. And I think you'll also notice like there's really nothing growing in the understory except for like a few shrubs here and there,
Yeah,
besides
that's
young longleaf pines, which
yeah,
yeah, just look how long those needles are, like
huge.
super, super long. And actually, this is something to point out as well is this pine species has what's called a grass stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where especially yeah, you'll see some out
Valid.
there like when they grow low to the ground and they're just a clump of needles, they actually look like a clump of grass, but it's actually a pine tree, a
That's
young pine
fascinating.
tree.
Yeah.
But it is fascinating. It's actually an adaptation to fire
Okay.
because the longer needles protect the plant when it's in that really young stage from low
Mm.
intensity fires.
Interesting. Huh.
Um, so it's a fire adaptation, and then like once it gets past the grass stage, it'll really start to like take off, and you'll see actually to your right, I think you'll just see like all the like all these different stages of growth here.
It's so
Like look
cool.
at that kind of sapling. Yeah, no, they're really just funky looking.
Yeah,
They have like this kind of otherworldly quality to them. They look kind of alien.
I
It's
agree.
just like you said, the pom poms.
Yeah.
Like they have like all those clumps of needles right at the end
Yeah.
of their twigs.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to point out about longleaf pine, it took me years, honestly, to notice these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like living in the habitat of longleaf pine and like
Mm-hmm.
telling them apart from other southern pines, but they have a they have thicker. If you look at the twigs right before the pom pom part comes out
Mm-hmm.
on the longleaf pines, like you see how thick they are, like in comparison to maybe other pine trees you've seen,
Okay.
like the thickness of the twigs right before the leaves come out is characteristic of longleaf pine, and they also tend to turn upward.
Mm.
So
Okay.
you'll have like this kind of arching upward that happens
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that you won't see in other southern pine trees as well.
What is the typical orientation of the end of a branch in a southern pine?
I guess like when I'm thinking of like a loblolly pine or something, which is when I think of a typical southern pine, I think of loblolly pine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't see that curving upward
As
that you see
much.
in longleaf.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like, look at some of those on your right.
They're
Like just
completely,
how
yeah.
much those are. Yeah, like they're pointed up and stuff, and like curving up.
Yeah.
Um, it's that's pretty characteristic of longleaf pine, and also uh, longleaf pine also have massive cones, and you can see those cones on the ground there.
Yeah. Huge ones,
Um,
yeah.
pretty large in comparison to other southern pines. And
Virginia ain't got nothing on these ones. I can say that much.
no, not at all. Like this is like the opposite of Virginia pine. You
Yeah.
can think of it.
Low key. Low
It's like
key.
it's got massive cones. It's got long needles.
Yep.
And also just notice how sandy the soil is.
Yeah.
They thrive in sandy soil.
Mm-hmm.
They thrive in areas that are frequently burned. Um, and yeah, it's a longleaf pine savanna. Basically, it's the type of habitat
Fascinating.
you
Yeah.
can call it as.
Okay. And where
Because
would you find that mostly?
so you were extremely close here in this guess. Like, so longleaf pine has a pretty wide range,
Mm-hmm.
but they're always found in the coastal plain of the Gulf coastal plain or the Atlantic coastal plain
Mm-hmm.
up to say southeastern Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And you also get them in the Florida Peninsula,
Mm-hmm.
all the way down to I think you can even get them like around the northern Everglades.
Mm-hmm.
But but yeah, like it's a very characteristic tree of sandy. soils near the Atlantic or the Gulf Coast in the southeastern U.S.
Sure. Okay, let's send it in and find out how close I am. Not too bad. North Carolina instead of South, but that's a pretty good guess, I think.
That's a solid guess. Yeah, there's another thing I'll say about longleaf pine is that it's actually endangered, I believe. I think if you look it up on iNaturalist, you'll see that.
What would the reason for that be, I
wonder? So the reason, longleaf is one word. There you go. You got it.
Nice.
Yeah, the reason for that is that it has very specific habitat requirements, and I think the biggest factor that leads to it being imperiled is fire suppression, because it requires it requires a certain amount of like regular fires to persist. And ever since like the southeastern U.S. has been like colonized, obviously fires get put out so they don't like cause damage and stuff. So you start seeing other species of pines like the loblolly pine start taking over areas that were once dominated by longleaf pine.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Interesting.
But yeah,
quite cool indeed. Okay, let's head forward to round number 4. And oh wow, I mean, surely this is Florida. We have huge palms mixed in with huge pines. It's dead flat. So these are they palmettos? I think so, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. Yes.
Nice. And then the pines here. I mean, without the palmettos, would I have even picked these as southern pines? I think so, but they're a bit more ambiguous than, for example, the longleaf ones. Although, do we actually maybe have some longleaf ones? Like these ones could be. I'm actually trying to like.
That's possible. Yeah, actually, I didn't catch that. There might be some longleaf in here.
So this one looks more normal here, but that one definitely. This one definitely has like a big-ish needles. Yeah. Okay, but I am like 80% sure that this is Florida, and if it's not, then I would expect it's somewhere very close by to Florida. I'm gonna go here. Right there. Okay. Take us through it.
Solid guess. Nice. Yeah, the star of the show for this location is the slash pine. It's one I know I mentioned to you earlier.
Yeah.
Slash pine. It is the pine that you're seeing all around us. That has noticeably shorter needles than the longleaf pine that we just looked at.
So, for example, this one with that one's this one, for example.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's possible. I'm not 100% sure. It's possible that some longleaf pine might be in the mix here, but I think we're mostly looking at slash pine just based off the location. But it is the most common pine in peninsular Florida, especially South Florida. And you'll often see it in its natural habitat growing alongside, like you pointed out, the cabbage palmetto, which are these tallish palms that you'll see even some of them have a trunk and they're pretty tall, like that one right there behind that pine tree.
Massive one, no? Am I looking at the right thing? Yeah. Crazy.
Oh yeah, actually, if you look on the right side of the road, I think there's another huge one.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Well, yeah, all of those. Yeah, there's another one right there, but huge beautiful. Beautiful cabbage palmettos, and also you were just looking at a southern live oak as well.
Oh,
just that on your left.
Yeah,
right there. Yeah, it has that bonsai kind of like spreading horizontally appearance.
I'm still trying to figure out which one it is. Is it this one here? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, and then the pine is behind that, and that's this. Okay, that's the live oak. Oh yeah, I can see the leaves here.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
You got it. Yeah. Nice. Actually, there might be some resurrection fern on those branches too. If you zoom in, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right.
I think they're dried up, but I think there's some resurrection fern there. But yeah, that's another species that we've talked about before. That's very, very common in peninsular Florida. So like you also kind of noticed that. And let's see. So we got the palmetto, and there's one other little Easter egg in here, plants that I wanted to point out. So you see that white trunk on your right, the right side of the road.
This one here.
That one. Zoom in on that. Notice that there's something growing on that trunk.
Like a little bit of ivy looking stuff or something.
A little bit below that.
Okay. Oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So what's
So
that?
this is again a cousin of Spanish moss and ball moss, which is another one we talked about. This is a Tillandsia of some kind. I'm actually not sure what species it is. I'm assuming it's Tillandsia fasciculata, which I think is one of the most common air plants in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But it's related to the pineapple, and actually, if you zoom in on it, like you can kind of see the resemblance,
Yeah,
right?
definitely, 100%.
Like it definitely looks more pineapple like than Spanish moss for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
But if you see an air, they're also called air plants. But if you see an air plant like this that looks like that on a tree, that is a guaranteed Peninsular Florida for
Okay.
sure.
Wow. Okay.
There's
Nice.
nowhere else in the continental U.S. Has a climate suitable for that kind of air plant
Mm-hmm.
or bromeliad.
What kind of
Like we
tree is
talked about
this?
before. I zoom in on the leaves because I'm actually not sure. Actually, I'm not 100% sure because yeah, the bark is definitely that's the pine behind it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
uh oh, it's got some more air plants on the top. Look at that.
yeah.
Yeah, those clumps. Yeah, I think there might be several species of air plant on that tree, but I actually don't know. Unfortunately,
It's
I don't know what
surprisingly
species that is.
pale, right? Hmm.
Yeah, it's like strikingly pale. Almost
Hmm.
looks like an aspen,
Yeah,
but
that's
definitely not an aspen.
yeah. I thought that this is way too warm to be an aspen, but I don't know
Oh,
what
you're
it is.
100%
Hmm.
right.
Okay,
I
interesting.
don't know. Yeah, but
So
I had to point out that air plant to you because I'm really glad I found a location that had slash pines and air plant in it at the
right,
same time.
got you.
That was cool.
The slash pines, just to touch on that for like one more minute. The
Yeah.
distinguishing features are shorter pine needles, but still relatively like normal length. And
Mhm.
is it what else could you say? Like I still don't really think I could recognize one like off bat.
Yeah, no, and honestly, if I'm being honest with you, like, it's really hard to tell this pine apart from other southern pines because, actually, I think one of the ways to tell them apart is by the number of needles they have per clump.
Right.
And to do that, you have to like have a clump of needles in your hand and count the needles.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so obviously you can't really do that on Geoguessr. It looks like a generic southern pine, and it's extremely hard to tell apart
I noticed they're very
visually from
tall. They're very
other
tall,
pines.
and
Yeah,
they
yeah.
are mixed in with a lot of other vegetation which could help you get there if you're not quite sure, I guess. So that's probably,
Yeah,
I suppose, the best way.
I think the vegetation around it tells more of a story
Yeah.
about, like, than actually just the pine itself, because, it does look exactly like things like the loblolly pine or the pond pine.
Yeah.
Trying to there's, like, a lot of other pines that it shares a habitat with that, honestly, your guess is as good as mine for identifying it.
Sure, sure. All right, let's send it in here. And it was indeed in that more southern area, so that makes sense
Yeah.
from what you were saying. And let's say slash pine and see what kind of distribution they're saying here. So you're saying mostly just Florida, right? Okay, no, it is actually just a southeastern one, concentrated in Florida, though.
Yeah, it's definitely the most common pine in South Florida for
Right,
sure.
gotcha. Okay, nice. Good stuff. Okay, round 5 here. Oh, these are... This... Okay. So we have very fine needles here. The branches, the way they're spreading out, kind of looks eastern white pine to me. We have like the... Maybe these are the small pine cones. Maybe this is a Virginia pine here. I can see that. I can see that. Yeah, it's one of the two, I believe. Um, Definitely feel Appalachian vibe, obviously, with the kind of hilliness here. Wondering about okay, let's look at the undergrowth here. Fairly normal looking. I'll try not to look at the road too much so I don't get any metas from there. But I feel like this one is an eastern white pine, but then we do have those really small pine cones. So it's one of the two. It's one of the two. It's not southern pines. And I was thinking maybe West Virginia this time. Though it is maybe a bit flat for West Virginia, but that's kind of the vibe I got here. Maybe like a South Ohio West Virginia, Kentucky kind of region here. I feel like that could be quite possible. I might guess on like the tri-point between them, to be honest. I feel like I kind of like that. All right, let's hear it.
Oh man, you were right on the money with the Eastern White Pine.
Oh, it
Yes,
is.
that
It is
tree you're
Eastern
looking
White.
at.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
It is Eastern White Pine. I know you were kind of like going through the possibilities there because like the needles do appear a lot shorter, especially compared to the Southern Pines we were just looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
But no, you're absolutely right. That's Eastern White Pine, and in
Okay.
fact, everything you
Yeah.
see
Everything is.
is
Yeah.
Eastern White Pine.
Except for
I don't think
this.
there's another pine species here.
Yeah, but yeah, all the pines are. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, all the pines and like I picked this location because um we have great views of the cones, which is something you don't always see on the Eastern White Pine. But you notice how those cones are dangling on the edges, like at the tips of the branches here.
Yep. Yep. Oh yeah, look at them. Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's something that's it's a classic white pine thing, and also the cones are a lot more narrow and like pointed than the cones that you find on like the southern pine trees, like the
Mm-hmm.
longleaf pine, for example, that we saw earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Like those cones are a lot more rounded.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, the cones of white pines are characteristically narrow,
Mm-hmm.
and they'll always be clumped at like the edges of the branches. So much so that actually sometimes their branches will droop down from the weight of the
Yeah.
cones.
I can see that almost like
I've seen
this
that
almost
before.
looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But I think something you probably noticed from the get-go, especially on that one right there,
Mm-hmm.
is just how horizontal those branches are. You
Yep.
know, how they're layered, they're horizontal, they're stretching over the road.
Mm-hmm.
Um the tree is more symmetrical. It has what botanists called a whorled branching pattern, which is basically they all radiate from the same point on the trunk, as opposed to the southern pines where it's a lot more disorganized.
Right.
But yeah, no, you got it. You got the ID. So
Okay.
good
Okay.
stuff.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I was well, more or less at least. But yeah, in hindsight, I can definitely see that. Um. Okay. 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 So, I mean, Eastern White Pines pretty much just like this. You draw a massive circle. Can be anywhere in that region. So I guess we'll just see if I got the right vibe here. I mean, I thought we got a bit of reddish soil, but they might just be pine needles in hindsight. I think
I, th-
that is what's
I
going
think
on.
those are needles. Yeah,
Yeah. In which
Eastern white pine
case,
needles.
it may be a bit further north than I thought, but let's find out. Yeah, it ends up being in Connecticut there. Okay, that makes sense.
Extreme northern Connecticut. Yeah, I want to point out, notice how many eastern white pines there were.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an extremely dominant tree
Yes.
in that location that we were. And that's something that I've noticed like the more you go like northeast, like into New England. I guess there's some areas around the Great Lakes that might look that like that as well, but um in other parts of the Eastern White Pine Range, it's more of like something you'll see in the mix, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
with other species, especially other broadleaf species.
Mm-hmm.
But certain parts of New England are have forests that are like predominantly Eastern White Pine,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I
That
think
makes
that's what
quite a
we were
bit of
seeing
sense to me.
there.
Yeah, yeah. That makes quite a bit of sense to
So
me.
that's like another thing I wanted to say is like when I'm playing Geoguessr and I'm like trying to only use plants, like I try to keep in mind not only the species that I'm seeing, but how abundant is the species in this location, and like that actually gets factored into because species will have like a certain geographic range, but in some parts of the range they'll be more abundant than in other parts of the range.
Definitely. So, for example, if you see some in Michigan, you're probably going to see them mixed in. Whereas if you see a forest where, you got a good majority, then definitely start to consider New England, New York, that kind of stuff, that kind of area.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, nice one. So not a bad score there, kind of let down by round 1 and round 5, but I say let's head through to the second one here and continue on our Eastern Pine journey. So this
Let's
one, of
go.
course, will also be a challenge link in the description, so you can play along. And let's get straight into things here with round number 6. Okay, well, we got a red road here. And okay, so pine-wise, okay, this is interesting. These ones almost feel quite coastal to me, in a way, like in an interesting way. So they're these ones are not like southern pines, I think. The needles are too fine, and I mean, what you were saying, they kind of like the branches are coming out from like a similar point on the tree when they're coming out. I feel like that also is what we're observing here. I would say so, yeah. Oh, we have like a clump of like birches or aspens here, so that's kind of interesting as well. To me, this kind of looks like Michigan, actually. Maybe coastal Michigan or something like that. Road's a bit red, which isn't that common in Michigan, but you could see it. Could also be Wisconsin, I think, yeah. But actually, we don't have a front plate, so maybe Michigan could make sense on that level. But yeah, I mean, the pines, they're very green. The needles are very green, but the vibe is, yeah, the vibe is definitely more northern with the vegetation here. I'm gonna say we're in Western Michigan here. Let's go for that. Happy for you to give your thoughts. Oh, look at these ferns, by the way. That's
Look at
interesting.
those ferns, yeah.
I definitely think maybe I would actually just hop over to Wisconsin then. I definitely think you can see ferns quite a lot in like Wisconsin, Minnesota, maybe. So yeah, but
Oh my gosh.
I still think coastal. So maybe I'll go like even like Sturgeon Bay region or something like that. Let's give that a go.
Well, let me tell you, you're definitely cooking right now because yes,
Nice.
the vibes are definitely Michigan, definitely Wisconsin.
Mhm.
You notice those aspen trees in the background, that's awesome. Like you can see that white bark, very
Yeah.
characteristic.
Yeah.
So you know you're up north.
Mhm.
The pines, I'm excited to tell you about this pine because
Okay.
there's no way, I don't think you know this pine exists
Probably
until I
not.
tell you.
Probably not.
It's very, it's very easily overlooked
Uh-huh.
and not well known. It's called jack pine.
Jack pine. Okay.
Jack
Okay.
pine. Very closely related to another pine that we saw earlier, the
Hmm.
Virginia pine.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Similar.
You see the resemblance? Look how short those needles are. Look how small those cones are. This thing
Barely
is
even
definitely
noticeable.
closely related to the Virginia pine.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to put this pine in the Appalachian Mountains, there's no way I'd be able to tell it apart from a Virginia pine. It's
Right.
basically identical.
Right.
Especially look at the ones on your left, on the left side of the road. Yeah, just look how short those needles are, just like
Super.
really short.
Super. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the thing that catches my eye when I see these. Just very like noticeably short needles compared to other pine trees, noticeably small cones, very similar to Virginia pine, very closely related, but it is the northern cousin of the Virginia pine.
Right.
It's actually extremely tolerant of cold. I think you can even find some jack pine north of the Arctic Circle, I
Right.
think. So like
It
they're
looks
like,
like a hardy tree. I could definitely see that.
oh, it's extremely hardy. It can take the cold. I think it also tolerates like poor soils as well,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
nutrient poor,
Mm-hmm.
rocky soils.
I mean, in a way, there's not much to it. Like, it's got very small leaves, and probably doesn't have to. Yeah, probably doesn't have to give much to support that. I could see.
Yep, absolutely. Again, it's easily overlooked. But if you start to catch on to like I guess what botanists would call the morphology of the
Mm-hmm.
plant, which
Mm-hmm.
is basically what it looks like, those short needles, like you said, like all these things are adaptations for its climate, and
Mm-hmm.
it can definitely give you a clue to what you're looking at. And if you know you're not in the Appalachian Mountains, and if you see like aspen trees plus, short needle pines like this, then you're probably looking at jack pine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there are 2 states that come to my mind when I see a lot of jack pines like this. It is Wisconsin and Michigan.
Let's
So you
go.
got it.
Let's go.
Yes.
And with
You
the
got
red
it.
road,
You're
I
right
want
on
to
the
say
money.
this might be, well, generally speaking, with a pink road, like we discussed in the last video, often UP or Wisconsin, so or maybe Minnesota. But let's find out. Let's find out how close I am.
Minnesota too.
Oof,
Yeah.
not too bad. Not too bad. Okay.
Not too bad. You're cooking.
Yes, sir. Ski. Okay, so that was pretty good. Interesting. We had no front plate on the car, and we still managed to go. That's why you trust the red road meta. But let's check it out. So that was the Jack Pine. Let's just see
Yes.
what we can see over here. Jack Pine, and what's the range gonna be? Oh, pretty huge. So it's found in Europe occasionally. So it's
Introduced.
not the most
Yeah.
common. It's not the most common tree. I mean, there's not that
No,
many
yeah.
observations, but definitely this kind of around the Great Lakes for sure is the
Yes.
biggest region. Interesting out up here, northeastern Canada, showing up quite a lot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, like one thing I'll say is again, I kind of looked at some other sources when I was researching this,
Mm-hmm.
and from what I could tell, I think I was using a USDA source,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw like a distinct area of central Wisconsin and northern Michigan.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I think you're seeing it right there in the middle of Wisconsin. You see that clump of observations.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also that one you're hovering over in Michigan. Those are
Roscommon,
like
Michigan.
distinct,
Okay.
yeah, distinct areas where you have like higher than average jack pine populations. And I've actually used that on Geoguessr before. I think I actually encountered jack pine one time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a 50-50 between the population in Michigan and the population in Wisconsin. And I think I lost the 50-50. I think it was the other one, but it would have been
Disastrous.
a really sick guess otherwise. Yeah.
But sure. Okay. Nice one. Super. Super. I like it a lot. I'm just
Yeah,
noticing how
Minnesota has them
similar.
too.
Have you noticed this? How similar the green buttons are in iNaturalist compared to GeoGuessr? Same shape, same text.
Oh wow, true. I didn't know. I didn't catch that.
Learn a new thing every day. All right. Again, new type of pine here. I feel like we haven't seen this one before. Um, this feels more like a nor. I want to say a northern style. I'm actually not too sure about that. I think the vibe of like the whole round was a bit more northern style. These branches are very horizontal. They're very organized. I would like to say. Yeah, I would say so about most of these trees. Okay, let me actually think. Like this should be something. Well, we have thick road lines. That's something you see in the Virginias a lot, but I don't really think we're there. Hmm. Hmm. No, this one's actually a challenge. Where are we? Oh, we right now. Pretty big hill southwest. Hmm. Maybe, okay. It kind of looks like Pennsylvania in a way, but I think Pennsylvania is often quite densely populated, so that's kind of a bit confusing that we don't really see anything going on here. But I could definitely see that part of the world. I do think I like the north vibe of these trees. Um, and it also kind of looks like southern pines. I mean, it kind of looks like a southern round, but I just don't think it actually is. Like, yeah, I'm looking at these like fallen over trees as well. Not getting a south vibe off them. A couple of rocks as well. Maybe this is even northeast or something. Well, maybe I'll like hedge my bets a little bit here. I'll go Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania. That's my guess. I don't know about the trees, but yeah.
Ooh, this one's tricky. This one's
Okay.
tricky.
I may
I
have
was
gone
excited to
wrong.
put this one in as well because
Yeah.
okay, so what we're looking at here, the pine tree
Yeah.
is the shortleaf pine.
Okay.
It's called the shortleaf pine. So it's so you know of the longleaf pine. This is the shortleaf pine.
Yeah.
This is a southern pine
Oh no.
that it has the longest. I think it's the largest distribution of all the southern pines in the
Okay.
U.S. because you can actually find it pretty far north as well. As
Okay.
far north as like southern Pennsylvania, I
Right.
think. So you're not too far off the money in terms of the species because the species does occur in Pennsylvania.
Okay. Okay.
But uh, here a few things I want to point out about shortleaf pine to help me identify it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called shortleaf pine because yes, the needles are shorter on average compared to other southern pines,
Mm-hmm.
especially the longleaf pine.
Mm-hmm.
They also have a lot of cones. They tend to have more cones. Like yeah, just look at all those cones. They're also pretty small, right?
Yeah.
Not it's almost like the Virginia pine.
Yeah.
In that Virginia pine also has a lot of small cones, but the needles are definitely longer than Virginia pine for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But here's the thing that I learned about shortleaf pine that really helps me identify it
Mm-hmm.
is notice the lower branches on that pine to your right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the lower branch is curving downward. Zoom in on that.
Ooh, okay.
You see that?
Yeah.
That is something that's characteristic of shortleaf pine and it's consistent.
Let's see if
The
I can see
lower
another.
branches will curve downward.
It's not,
And on some trees you'll notice it more than others, but um, shortleaf pine will tend to have those downward curving lower branches, and
mm,
that really helps me identify it.
oh, sure.
Um,
I'm trying to see another one.
but
It's,
it
it's there's not many of them with leaves that are a bit lower. Hmm.
look on the right side of the road, or yeah, just the other side. Yeah, actually that one right there. Um, if you go up a little bit, Yeah, you see how those branches are curving down towards the end?
Oh yeah, I see that here. Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Mm,
It's like and it's consistently the lower branches that will do that.
yeah,
The upper branches are,
they're also
oriented
pointing
more
upwards.
upwards.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Yeah, but those descending lower branches, characteristic of shortleaf pine, that alongside of shorter than average needles and abundant small cones help you identify it.
So it definitely
But,
looks more like a northern style, especially because I was looking at this one. Like it seems to be very consistent with how the branches are. But yeah, I mean, I can see it. Yeah.
yeah, actually, yeah, it definitely varies from tree to tree. Yeah, actually, that's a good point though. It's like it's almost eastern white pine like on some of them, where
Mm,
the branches are like consistently horizontal, right?
yeah, that's what it made me think I was
Like
right here. Yeah.
I've actually when I was still in the process of learning my pines, like I would sometimes confuse shortleaf pine with eastern white pine from a distance until I got closer because that shape the shape looked eastern white pine like, but then you get closer and you look at the actual needles and the cones, you're like, okay,
Mm,
never mind, this is definitely a southern pine. So.
So if you're playing NMPZ here, could run into some troubles. Although even still, you can see how many pine cones there are. Should help you
Mhm.
out. Okay, so shall we guess here? And then I called out that the lines here are kind of thick, so I do wonder if it could be Virginia's here. Let's find out. Okay, and it was Arkansas. Wow, tough one. Tough one.
Yes, tough one, but I wanted to show you this because I feel like this is something that I learned recently that I think could be really helpful. Is
Shortleaf
and
is good.
again I learned this through the USDA source, but um, I think the part of the country where shortleaf pine is the most common and dominates the landscape is the Ouachita Mountain Range of Arkansas, which is that mountain range right there.
Mm,
Yeah, and
wow.
even though you won't see that many observations on iNaturalist, I think that's more of a function of the remoteness of the area.
Yeah, not
Uh,
many people live there, to be
if you
fair.
look at actual Forest Service data, you will see like really concentrated population of shortleaf pine right around that area,
Right.
and that's actually something that I've used in Geoguessr that's helped me on a few guesses. Is
Mhm.
I noticed that shortleaf pine was like dominant like, and I wasn't seeing, like, really any other pine species around, it was just shortleaf pine, and if I was seeing a lot of it combined with, like, mountainous terrain, um,
Yeah, we had the mountain.
then like, the Little Rock area of Arkansas and, like, a little bit west in that Ouachita Range is a good guess for sure.
Yeah, I would actually say out of all the rounds we've had today, out of all 22 so far, 21, I think that's the hardest round.
Oh, yeah, that
That
was
one I
tough.
wouldn't have gone Arkansas at all. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's a tough one.
yeah,
The another thing I'll say about the Ouachita Mountains is, like so you notice so we had pines, but we also had, that shot was taken in the wintertime, so you couldn't
yeah.
really see the leaves, but, there was a lot of oak trees around as well. And
Mm,
I think the Ouachita Mountains
these ones here.
are yeah, and especially, like, I think that tree oh, yeah, there we go, yeah, a little bit of a season change here, so you can kinda see the leaves, actually.
These ones are oaks. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's mostly shortleaf pine and various oak species that you're seeing, and, that's exactly the kind of vegetation type I would expect in the Ouachita Mountain Range. Because
Right.
yeah,
And you
and notice
know,
how
if
different that
I
is.
yeah, if I saw this in the summer, maybe I would have had a much better shot at getting it. I wouldn't have gone. I think I wouldn't have gone Pennsylvania here with this summerscape. I guess sometimes, yeah, the winter stuff can be the most difficult in a way. So yeah, and
Oh, yeah,
this,
it can be tough, for sure. Especially
yeah,
if you're relying on plants, it could be tough.
that's right. But also like something for your own knowledge as well. This is the Southern Reflector. This
Oh,
yellow plastic one. So that one you would find in the south of the U.S. and
I
also
didn't know
in the
that.
West, but
Really?
not found above like I think like already by the time you hit the Carolinas and Tennessee and stuff, you wouldn't find them anymore. So yeah.
Wow, I actually did not know that. I've heard about southern reflectors, like, in passing, like,
Mm,
watching some of your videos, I
mm,
think, but
mm.
I never, like, figured out what it actually looked like, so
Right, right,
yeah, it's
right.
cool.
I think the Southern reflectors kind of follow this line, and then they go up to Washington. It's kind of like that.
Interesting.
Hard one there. Okay, okay. I'm looking at the house. No, okay, let's have a
Yeah,
look
the
here.
house
Eastern
house
White
might give away
Pines.
some
Eastern White
yes,
Pines.
absolutely.
And the house. Do we have the shingled? We don't have any shingled walls here, so I don't really think it's Cape Cod. But I do think it's north. I think it's quite northeastern here. I do. Because it feels like it's quite flat. I don't think we're at altitude here, and not too much at least. And yet the predominance of eastern white pines is a lot, very much so. Yeah. Yeah. Like look at that. So what do I actually think here then? I mean, could be like Massachusetts, Connecticut kind of thing here. I could definitely see that. We don't have any rock walls or anything. It could also just be like New Jersey or something around there as well. I feel like I'm kind of feeling like those two areas here. What was the name of the pine? We don't have any of the pine that was found on like Cape Cod in New Jersey, but
Oh, a pitch pine.
pitch pine. But I don't think we have any of those. But it kind of feels like
We
their kind
might.
of area.
We might actually. I was excited to put this one in here. So first of all, you're exactly right on the Eastern White Pine IDs. So good stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, this is a great example of Eastern White Pine because like you see that horizontal nature to the branches. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
so on one side of the road you got Eastern White Pines mostly, and on the other side of the road you got Southern Pines. Look at those.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's either yeah. If you can zoom in on some of those trees that are like right above you too, like you'll notice those are definitely southern pines. Like, look at the way those needles are arranged and everything.
Right. Okay. I wasn't
I
expecting the both of them here, but yeah, you can
yeah,
compare. You can definitely see the difference. Yeah, longer needles for sure. Yeah.
yeah, and just again more disorganized, less like layered and stuff.
Mm.
Uh, and I actually don't know what species of southern pine we're looking at. I'm thinking it could be loblolly pine.
Yeah.
It could honestly, could it be pitch pine? I don't think it's pitch pine. It's possible. It could be shortleaf pine as
Hmm.
well. It gets
Hmm.
complicated because again, like I said, like sometimes they hybridize, but like um, but all I know is that we're looking at what if I had to take a guess, probably loblolly.
Hmm. 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 Okay. So all that being said, I think I would then adjust my guess. Maybe I'm thinking now like Delaware, Virginia, something like that here with the combination of the two. I feel like that's kind of like the transition zone. I think the house makes a lot of sense for that as well. Um, but yeah, I guess like New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. That's my new guess. Let's
Sounds
go here.
good.
Let's go in Maryland. Nice.
Nice, good
Got
stuff.
it
You
in the
got
end.
it.
Yeah. This is like, I mean, like, yeah, you get Southern Pines in Delaware and Maryland quite a lot, right? And then
Yes,
Northeastern as well.
yes. Yeah, this is actually why I was excited to include this one because, and I'm really glad that you had the exact reasoning that I did when I made it. Was I wanted to find a location that had both,
Yeah.
that had the Eastern White Pine and the Southern Pines coming together,
Hmm.
because that's something that when you see that, it does narrow things down substantially because you know
100%.
you have to be somewhere in that transitional zone,
Hmm. Definitely.
and yeah, Maryland and Delaware, that's definitely one of those transitional zones. Another transitional zone is northern Georgia.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
that's where you get eastern white pine and loblolly pine and shortleaf pine are all kind of blending together north of Atlanta, especially once you get into like closer to the northern border of Georgia. There's a lot more eastern white pine there. And you'll see that trend like even like yeah, all along like the the western side of North Carolina and the western side of Georgia, you'll see that blend as well
Right.
of eastern white pine with southern pines.
Right.
But
Great.
that was a fantastic guess. So good
Thank you.
stuff.
Thank you. With a bit of help from the goat, but you know. Okay. Wow. Very long needles here, I'm noticing. More of a southern vibe. But look at these trees as well. These feel like maybe is it aspens or something maybe? Um okay. Difficult one. Okay, and then maybe we also have some eastern white pines here as well. These are very short-leaved. These ones are quite horizontally leaved as well. So I think these ones are like southernish looking. But we do have like a strong combination, I would say, here, maybe. So maybe this is exactly what we were just talking about. Maybe this is one of those transitional zones again. Okay, I actually want to find like a tree that I definitely think is eastern white pine. Like this one is probably the strongest contender I can see. Although those branches do kind of droop downwards, like the what was the name of the one that we said droops downwards?
Oh, a shortleaf pine.
Shortleaf pine. It could be a shortleaf pine instead here, which was more. I'm trying to remember what was the range of shortleaf pine again.
Oh, shortleaf pine has a huge range, but it's
Like that kind
the area that it was most like concentrated in is the Ouachita Mountains of
That's right. Okay,
Arkansas.
yeah, and it kind of peaks up around here and then kind of goes down there. Okay, and then I remember it's not on Florida itself, but it kind of stops around here. Okay. That could make some sense here. That could make some sense. I think it might be that. They have lots of pine cones. That might be a lot of pine cones up here. I could see that for sure. Okay. Okay. Maybe this could even be like Missouri or something. It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. I don't know how many southern. Maybe like it's not Mark Twain Forest, but maybe it's like North Arkansas or maybe North Carolina or something. I don't know. No, I think it does feel a bit further inland. Maybe I think I prefer maybe this side of things. I'm gonna try like a Missouri Arkansas border. Lock it in.
Oh man, this is a tough one. This is a
Okay,
tough one, but
I'm wrong.
I think
Where are we?
this is a yeah. No, I'm glad I put this one in here because there's honestly there's so much going on with the pines right here that like that yeah, I gotta point some stuff out and
All
like
right, all right.
you were exactly right from the get-go. You are looking at eastern white pine. And the distance there, you see like those long horizontal branches. So you
Okay,
were
it
right.
is. Yeah, yeah.
You were playing with the idea that it could have been shortleaf pine, right? But
Because of these like
you were
downward
right.
sloping ones.
Oh yeah, you see that downward descending. Yeah,
Mm,
I think actually it looks like those branches were probably cut. I see like
mm,
yeah, I think they did some trimming or something, so that
mm,
might like affect things a little bit.
mm.
But no, you notice how like how horizontal. If you look down the other side of the road
Oh,
too,
you
see how they're
can
like
see that, yeah.
extending over the road
Mm,
like that. So yeah, definitely classic eastern white pine there.
by
Which
this
and
one.
you know the range of that one.
Yeah,
Listen, this one, this is the star of this location right here.
naturally,
This is the one I want
naturally.
to talk about.
Yeah,
So this is another one that you probably didn't know existed.
probably.
This is called yeah, no, I'm so excited to tell you about this one because
Mm-hmm,
yeah, this is one that I agree. Like, so you thought it looked like a southern pine,
mm-hmm.
and you're definitely right about that. It has more of a southern pine look to it. But it's actually a northern pine through and through. It's called the red pine. The
Red
red
pine. Okay,
pine.
okay, okay.
Yes. Yeah, a new pine for you right there is the red pine. There's one right there, and actually, if you look next to you, I think on your right, there's another one that's even closer. Yeah, that one right there. You might get a better look at the red pine there.
Mm,
Yeah, but look, it has like those tufts of needles that are like clumped at the end. Wait, see that reddish hue to the bark? I think
yeah,
that's where it gets its name from,
definitely.
is
Yeah.
that reddishness. So you'll notice like it's not always easy to see sometimes, but you can notice some reddishness to the bark. But um the needles are yeah, again, very southern pine like in the fact that they clump at the end of the branch tips.
Yeah,
Um
yeah,
very similar to things like loblolly pine or longleaf pine in
yeah,
that respect.
yeah.
It looks more disorganized. So it's like looks very southern pine like, but it is a northern pine.
Cheeky,
And
cheeky.
it's a curveball, and it's definitely a good one to be aware of, so that if you see this thing and you think it's a southern pine, you could be very far off. And actually, it's one that I've gotten better at identifying over time, but it's still tough.
Yeah.
It's still tough to ID. Um, I think if I'm questioning whether or not I'm looking at red pine, I usually look at the surrounding vegetation to give me a hint.
And are
Um,
these
and
aspens or what?
I think yeah, it's either aspen or birch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that
it
would
could be.
probably
I think
lead you
they're
away from anything south of here, surely.
definitely yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, we're looking at a very northern forest, and there's actually One more pine in here that's actually we're revisiting this from earlier, and actually I almost didn't notice this when I picked this location, but if you look up and behind you,
These ones? Or...
and then a little to your left, and zoom in on that one.
So this is
Look how short those needles are.
Virginia pine. Or what?
Jack pine,
Jack
actually.
pine. Okay, Jack pine, yeah. The
It's
Jack
jack pine,
pines
yes.
were more so like the ones that we saw in like Michigan, Wisconsin, but can be anywhere, right?
Yes, exactly. Especially Michigan and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, I
So,
almost yeah, so that probably changes things a lot, huh?
it surely does. That's a hill there to our east, I think. It's interesting. I didn't get a Wisconsin vibe off this one. Michigan I could see. So maybe, yeah, I mean, we are on a grid. That would feel pretty good for Michigan. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I feel like maybe, yeah, with that information, maybe Michigan makes quite a bit of sense here. I'm not too sure though.
I think it's a solid guess.
Let's find out. Okay, nice.
Good stuff. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Nice. Okay. There you go. Interesting one.
Yeah, look at that. I think when I was picking that location, I was actually looking for a good jack pine location.
Mm.
Uh so yeah, because we were on iNaturalist earlier, and we saw that cluster of jack pine observations in that area.
Yeah.
So I was looking around for a good jack pine spot, and I found that spot instead, which was a good red pine location, because it was a good view of like that red bark, and
Right.
it was also surrounded by other pine trees that could like give you the necessary context to figure out that it's not a southern pine, basically.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah, that was
that's
probably
true.
one of my favorite locations. For sure, because
Another
of that.
super
It's a
tough one.
good,
So what was the name of that
yeah.
one we just saw again?
Oh, red pine.
The red pine.
Yeah.
Of course. How could I forget? And that is found, yes, kind of very similar to the jack pine, I want to say. No?
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty similar. Jack pine can be found further north and west,
Yeah.
than the red pine,
They had the yellow knife
but
kind of area.
but oh yeah, like all the way up there, yeah. But for red pine, it's like I think it probably reaches its highest concentrations around the Great Lakes, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Places like northern Michigan and like Wisconsin, I've definitely seen them there. Uh, Minnesota looks like they have a lot of observations there, and even over New England, you got them.
Yeah. Pretty concentrated
Uh,
around New England as well, yeah.
it's the oddball northern pine for sure, because it's gonna make you think it's a southern pine when it's actually not.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yep,
yeah, it's
that seems about right to me. And that, I feel like I've gone south of Michigan and it would have been that tree, I think.
yeah, for sure.
Even recently. So yeah, okay. Final round here. See if we can finish it off strong. And we are in. Okay, I'm gonna try not to look at the lines here have helped me immediately. But these trees then. So we have very long needles here. So, but we have long needles. Yeah, really quite long, mixed with a trunk that's not red, so probably not a red pine again, I could say. We have like some kind of maple-ish looking trees here, something like that. Sugar gums? What? Something like
Sweet
that.
gum,
Sweet
yeah, you
gums?
got it.
Yeah,
It's sweet gum.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the road lines here, wide lines with southern reflectors inside them. Suspicious. I'm thinking, okay, with this mix of trees then, okay, well, I do think they're southern pines. I don't know what type. Maybe, what do you call it? Loblolly? What's it called?
Oh yeah,
I think that's what we might be looking at here. Just standard southern pines mixed in with
yeah.
quite a bit of different kind of trees as well. Maybe some sweet gum
Yep,
and some
yep.
oak,
You got
maybe
it,
even.
dude. Yeah, you're cooking right now.
So I am thinking, Arkansas is my first thought. Yeah, I think it's Arkansas. think it's Arkansas or maybe like North Mississippi. My thought here.
Wow. Okay. Both really, really solid guesses. And no, you're spot on with your identification. I didn't even say anything, but you identified the pine tree and the sweet gum. So
let's go.
Great stuff, dude. Yes, that is in fact Loblolly pine. Honestly, like surprisingly hard to find a location for, where I was, fairly confident that I was looking at Loblolly pine and not something else. Because that's one of the problems with Loblolly pine is that it's pretty ambiguous. It's like basically the way I think about it is it's in between a shortleaf pine and a longleaf pine. It's the perfect middle ground. The needles are not as long as longleaf, but they're not as short as shortleaf. The cones, same story. It's like they're not as short as shortleaf, not as large as longleaf, I don't think. So it's like it's tough. It's like, but it's like it's your classic southern pine. It's like you see it and it's like that's a southern pine, you know?
Yeah.
And it's also probably the most common southern pine in the US. It is used for plantations around the southeast. So if you see like a plantation of pine trees, it's probably loblolly. I'm guessing they also use slash pine for that purpose, but I think loblolly is, as far as I know, the most commonly used one for that purpose. It is naturally found in low-lying areas, like like on the edges of bogs or creeks, in its natural state. But it has since become more common in uplands since, like we said earlier, fire suppression has led to the basically the reduction of longleaf pine, and loblolly pine has been able to take over areas that were previously dominated by longleaf pine, and also because they're so useful for, I think it's paper production. They're just so widely planted, so they are just literally everywhere in the southeast. It's probably one of the most common trees you can see. But again, it's like despite how common it is, identification can be difficult, at least for me. When you're trying to compare it against other southern pines, especially like slash pine, like I think to identify loblolly over slash, I think it's like the average number of needles is like 3 per clump instead of 2 or something like that. But I might be having that backwards. But it's the rabbit hole runs really deep for pines.
Look at these waxy leaves right here.
Oh yeah, great spot. Actually, I didn't even think to talk about this, but yeah, that's actually southern magnolia.
All right.
Southern magnolia. That's probably a tree you've seen pretty often on Geoguessr and maybe just didn't know the name. But
we have them in Australia too, maybe even.
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a really, really popular landscape tree, even outside of its native range in the southeastern US, but for good reason. It has huge, glossy, beautiful green leaves like that. And when it flowers, it has these beautiful white flowers that are extremely fragrant. That's actually not a flower. I'm not really sure what that is, but yeah, I don't think this one's in flower. This one's not in flower, but when they are in flower, this might be a good one to look at on iNaturalist. Later on, so you can get like a sense of what they look like, because I guarantee you've seen them all over the place because they're so popular in the landscape, especially in the southeast.
100%. Okay, shall we send it in with my Arkansas guess and see how good it is then?
Go for it.
Let's do it. Okay, Louisiana. Yeah. Should have known the Deer Nebula Louisiana meta would have come into play here.
You should have known. You should have known my bias would kick in there. And actually, fun fact: that road that you're on right there is a place that I've been to before, and it's near one of my absolute favorite places in Louisiana called the Louisiana State Arboretum, which is right there. You actually zoomed in and saw the name. Yeah, right there. Louisiana State Arboretum. If anyone is in the area and wants to go see some trees, I highly recommend the Louisiana State Arboretum. It's a fantastic place.
Get on over there, guys. Get on over there. Okay, there we go. This one was a tougher seed because I think actually the only one I got on my own was the Wisconsin. Everything else, well, and the Arkansas, I guess, but the other three I was always off base with. So that just goes to show that there's a reason I wanted some practice on here. This is a pretty struggle area for many people, including myself. So I would say, well, let's quickly check out some of those ones that we just had then. We had
Do you
Southern
want to check out
Magnolia.
yeah, Southern Magnolia. Check that one out because I guarantee you've seen this before.
So here we are, the Southern Magnolia. Yeah, definitely. And then is this one? Where's the flowers though? I feel like we didn't see the white flowers yet. So we click
Yeah,
on.
I think to find the
Here we
flowers
are.
because there's one right there. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Pretty.
because usually it sorts by most recent observations.
Right. Oh, so like
So
the wrong
yeah,
season.
we're kind of
4
outside
days
of their
ago.
flowering season, so you're
Right.
gonna see mostly leaves.
I see. That makes sense. So I wonder where that one is located. The flower that we did see.
Yeah.
Oh, Mexico.
Let's see, that
Okay.
was March 25th. Oh wow. See, that makes sense. Yeah. So in a more tropical climate. Yeah, check that out. That's cool.
Nice.
That's probably the earliest flowering southern magnolia I've ever heard of.
Right.
There might be some flowering in like South Florida too, because I think you do have some in like Central and South Florida.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, usually where I'm from, we'll see them in like late spring and early
Right.
summer.
Right. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Okay. And I think with that, we will conclude off the video here. Obviously, if you haven't gone and checked out the video on our main channel or on Phil's channel, then you have to go and do so. They should be out by now. And guys, I would say thank you very much for watching the video all the way to the end. Phil, thank you very much for making these maps again. They've been very helpful, although I feel like I'm going to retain less of this one than the other one because those pines can look so similar that it's easy to get confused. But no, nevertheless, very useful stuff. Thank you.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Yeah, this was so fun to do. Thank you for pitching the idea to me because I would not have thought to make these maps at all had it not been for you pitching it. So it was a lot of fun to do. I learned a lot from it, and I hope I hope it was helpful. It's great to hear. And also, you did really well too.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was just I was just really impressed with your ability to like not only identify the species, but like use that to narrow down your location. Like that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. No, it's really fun. I really do enjoy that tree observing stuff. Guys, I'll have Geonebula's accounts linked, such as Twitch and YouTube, down below. Go give him a follow. Go check out his stuff. It's really good. And that is it for the video. So thank you for watching all the way to the end. Thanks again to Phil, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.